A lot of people with hard lives often dream that they're actually part of something bigger, or that their real parents are kings and queens with amazing, luxurious lifestyles. What if that were actually true? But what if it wasn't really what you were hoping for? In this video, we learn what happens when you discover your heritage is a lot more royal than you first believed. Could this news really change one girl's life forever? Or would there be a darker side to such a crazy revelation? Oh, your dad, he can't come. He's busy because he's a king. Honestly, that sounds like exactly the kind of thing a kind mother would say to spare her 5-year-old's feelings when her daddy can't come to the classroom to meet her teacher.
Yeah, sure. My father was the Prince of Genovia.
You're joking.
Little Carla Brizuela Perez believed it then, back in the 1980s. You see, she and her mom had moved from the Philippines to the United States when Carla was only 6 years old, with no kind of child support. So her mom worked very hard as a nurse. Although neither of them were ever starving, they lived on a tight budget. Even the little luxuries were hard to come by, and Carla's mom worked very long hours. Carla was a kid who was longing for a pair of Levi jeans and envying her friend's brand new wardrobe of clothes each school year, so she had no reason to believe her mom was telling the truth about her dad. For all she knew, it was nothing but a sweet fantasy, exactly the kind of crazy hope that a million little girls might dream about when they're frustrated by their lives. The story of a long-lost royal isn't a new one. It's been going back as far as kings have been around. After all, a king or prince might have met all kinds of women. And even queens and princesses get up to no good with the opportunity that wealth, power, and status allows. It's surprising that this doesn't come up more often. But then birth control has come a very long way. Even today, people speculate that the British royal family has a few hidden relatives and siblings that nobody is meant to talk about. But that's a rabbit hole for another time. It certainly inspires rumors. Not surprisingly, this royal fantasy is a popular movie topic too.
Amelia, have you ever heard of Edouard Christophe Philippe Gerard Rinaldi?
No.
He was the Crown Prince of Genovia. What about him? Edouard Christophe Philippe Gerard Rinaldi was your father.
Yeah, sure. My father was the Prince of Genovia.
You're joking.
And it's this sweet movie starring Anne Hathaway that would eventually resonate with Carla the most. Still, The Princess Diaries was a work of fiction, wasn't it? Well, Carla would soon be amazed to find herself really relating to Anne Hathaway. You see, for years, Carla hadn't really questioned her mom's wild story too closely. For a start, she had decided that a story that began with a Malaysian king and a young nurse and ended with an illegitimate daughter wasn't exactly a fairy tale love affair. She figured that it would probably only hurt to bring it all up again. So nothing surprised her more than in 1996, when Carla was around 14 years old, she received a call that would deeply shock her. A man calling himself Dato Michael introduced himself as a representative for her real-life father. Her father's title, the Sultan of Pahang from Malaysia. And now, after all these years and continents apart, he finally wanted to meet her. It seemed like Carla's mom had been telling the truth this whole time. The meeting was set up, and in 1996, Carla traveled to London to meet her already elderly father. Carla was very surprised at her physical resemblance to the Sultan, and his character was, like her, playful and sarcastic with his people, which was a lot like her as well. But a formal dinner at a very posh restaurant and lots of assistants isn't the most relaxing way for a 14-year-old to get to know her long-lost dad. It wasn't exactly a relaxed coffee or a milkshake and a chat. Carla really didn't know what to say, although he seemed fairly interested in her life and said he reminded him of one of her older half-sisters. But Carla's mom was also at this first meeting, and she had very strong ideas about what Carla's father should do for them. The side that Carla never mentioned in her own retelling to Vice magazine is just how she may have been the product of several forced liaisons with the Sultan. Carla's mom, Dina, claimed she was coerced into encounters with him between 1979 to 1984. Since he'd accepted responsibility for Carla's conception, Dina had been negotiating with the Sultan for a settlement, amounting to 10 million, approximately $2.25 million US. But even more than that, they'd allegedly also wanted to be part of the Sultan's inheritance. Dina had wanted a written acknowledgement of Carla's paternity, an agreement that Carla be allowed to visit her father annually, that Carla be accepted as one of the Sultan's children. This tense negotiation had gone on from 1997 to 2001 until the discussion completely fell apart. The palace had ultimately taken these demands as a way to drag their reputation through the mud. Despite accusations of the inheritance demand, Dina maintained that Carla wanted only to get to know her father and visit him annually in the summer and winter. She added, "It is unfair to Carla to be treated as an outcast. She just wants to visit her father and get to know her half-brothers and sisters." Not surprisingly, Carla didn't want to be interviewed about this directly, but still, according to her mom, Carla is still very hurt by what has happened with her father, but it's going to be hard to ever reconcile when all your father-daughter conversations go through lawyers. There wasn't likely to be much bonding time there. He was always careful not to make any promises or mention definitive dates. This meant I never did know if that meeting would be our last, until one day it was. On May 22, 2019, the sad news came that Carla's estranged father had passed away. The first Carla even heard about it was through a social media message, which is unbelievably sad. She said in her article, "It's an odd feeling grieving over a parent you never really knew." She had only met him 3 times in her life. Could Carla ever get closure? Back in 2009, Carla had gone to the state capital of Malaysia and left a message for her father at the palace. They wouldn't let her in, but she did drop off a heartfelt letter to a guard asking the Sultan to get in touch with her. She never expected that letter to ever reach him, but it gave her a little bit of closure, and she has been able to move past the loss of a possible relationship with him. Even today, she isn't even mentioned on the Wikipedia page about her dad. Instead, she has moved past it and built her own impressive life. Now Carla is powering ahead with a bright career in social work, inspired to take up this profession after completing a legal internship, and she works hard as a therapist, helping Filipinos to find their own mental health and deal with class and racism issues, among other objectives. She just wants to help. Carla's gone on to have her own close family and a life far away from the palaces of Malaysia. So while she may not have had access to the huge riches of her father's daily life, Carla seems to have found some kind of peace with her situation and is using her experience to help heal others as well.